Hey, this is Boulevard Broken. Since it's Halloween, I thought I might teach a spooky module, so I'm gonna teach MWI Sort. This can be a read if you're just looking at the manual, but if you know what's going on, you can kind of boil it down to a few simple ideas. So, goal of the module is to sort it by the end, 0 through 9. Um, and to get there, you have to fill in these rows until eventually you get to this 9. So for example, this would be 0, this would be 8, this would be 9. Important rule is cannot have the same digit above and below unless it meets the display rule, which you see in the bottom left. So for example, display rule number 1 is that digit located at the position equal the significant digit of number of starting minute. So I started with 22 minutes. So the thing in the second position, everything is 0 indexed here. So position 2 is this 7 right here. So everything would have to be different, but this 7 would have a 7 below it. 7 stays in the same place. So how do we get from this to the bottom sorted over here? Well, there are a lot of approaches. I find the simplest approach, especially for the diffuser's end, is to just shift the string over. I'll show you what I mean by this. So I'm going to take this string and I'm going to shift it over all by 1. That none of them are equal now. None of them are on top of each other. And then since the 7 needs to stay in the place, I'll put it back where it needs to be. So it's like I shifted everything over after removing the 7 and then put the 7 back in. Okay, so now we can do that again. Rule 2. Rule 2 is the digit equal to the least significant number of modules. I have 11 modules. So least significant digit is 1. And note how last one said position. This one just says the digit equal. So instead of the digit in position 1, I am taking the literal digit 1 and keeping it in. Since it's at the beginning here, I'll take it out and then rotate. And I'll put it back in where it needs to go. So now everything's shifted over, nothing's the same except for this 1. And then final rule, number of batteries, position equal to number of batteries. I have 6 batteries. Let's look at positions. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 is this 8. So we're going to take the string, take the 8 out, rotate it, put the 8 back in. And now we've gone through everything without striking, except now we need to check it against the final. And we can see that this wouldn't be valid because this 3 and 4 is above this 3 and 4. So that would be wrong. So what do we do when we encounter this problem? Well, we take our problems and we move them somewhere else. We simply just shift again. So if I move that and then it back where it needs to be. So we've shifted twice, and if we look, nothing is above each other. So it looks like this is a perfectly valid solution. Sometimes you won't get as lucky, but as long as you keep shifting, you'll probably usually eventually, unless you're extremely unlucky, you will eventually get a valid solution, as long as you keep shifting. If you somehow shift every single time, or if your display number is if the thing you had to copy from last time is in the same position as where it needs to be at the end, you can try shifting an earlier row. For example, I could shift this first one twice instead of this last one. But most of the time, you're perfectly fine just shifting that last row by 1 or 2. Should give a valid solution. So anyways, now that I've babbled on about that, why did I do it this way? It's because as a diffuser, I can just be told keep position 2, keep the number 1, and then keep position 6. And then I can say shifted by 1, shifted by 1, shifted by 2. That sounds complicated until you see me do. So since I'm keeping position 2 and everything's shifted over by 1 except for this first one would start at a 0. And this slot would start at 0, this slot would be 5, this slot would be 6, etc. As you see me clicking them, I'm not going over this over here. I only use this to make sure that it was a valid solution. What I'm doing is just keeping note of the shift and what position. So let's start 7. Okay, now I'm keeping the number 1 and shifting everything. Skipped past 1 that time. 1. Okay, now I need to remember I'm keeping 8 in the same position. I'm shifting over by 2. 4. We skip over the 8 here, so that's a 9. This 8. Finally, now we just go in order. 9, 8, 9, 8, 7, 5. So this without missing out. Yes. We'll have a solved MWI sort. Yeah, so that shifting just made it really easy. I didn't look at these notes at once, partially because I was the one also taking the notes, but it's still very easy to shift over by 1 or 2. So anyways, glad I can give a strategy as well, just how to solve in general this module. Yeah, happy solving, happy Halloween if you celebrate Halloween. I certainly don't. Knocked on my door, left them alone. That actually. Anyways,